Hi, my name is Carmen, and I am an early childhood special education teacher, a life and ADHD coach, and I'm the host of this podcast, Authentically ADHD. I created this podcast to help anyone wondering if they have ADHD, people who have been diagnosed for a while and want some more support and community. I'm here to bring you the latest research on ADHD and neurodiversities while we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of ADHD. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi there, friend, and welcome back to Authentically ADHD. I'm Carmen, and today we're diving into a topic that I know many of us grapple with on a daily basis: memory challenges and how they uniquely impact those of us with ADHD. Memory is something that we all rely on, whether it's remembering to grab our keys before leaving the house or recalling important facts for a meeting. But for those of us with ADHD, memory can feel like an elusive thing, always just slipping through our fingers just when we need it the most. I mean, I've had countless moments where I walk into a room and immediately have forgotten why I'm there. And it takes me, a whole, probably 3 minutes of standing there and doing other things in the environment for me to remember, or I have to walk all the way back to what I was doing before to remember the thing that I needed where I went to, like where I had walked all the way and I have to go back. Or where I've been halfway through a store only to completely lose track of what I need and I just skip half the aisles. Or I'm telling a story and I get lost on a tangent. I mean, if you can relate to any of these, you're definitely not alone. In today's episode, we're going to explore why memory is such a struggle for those of us with ADHD, the impact that it can have on our daily lives, and most importantly, what we can do to manage and improve our memory skills. Are you ready? Let's get started. So, as you know, first of all, we want to understand what we're talking about, right? So we want to understand ADHD and memory, and to really understand why memory is such a challenge for those of us with ADHD, it helps to start with the basic of how, memory works. Memory, in a general sense, can be broken down into a few different types. Working memory, which has subtypes of verbal and nonverbal working memory, short-term memory, and long-term memory. So working memory as a whole is the ability to hold information in your mind while you're using it. So imagine trying to remember a phone number just long enough to dial it, which as I was writing that, I was like, I don't think I can do that. And I tried to, and I can't. That's working memory in action. I have to write down the phone number. Sometimes if you look at the phone number for long enough or you write it down, that's enough to help us remember, but sometimes it's not. Within working memory is 2 types, the verbal and the nonverbal working memory. Verbal working memory is the ability to store verbal information for periods of time and then use said information, such as verbal instructions, addresses, people's names, names of objects, and numbers. This is why visual instructions work better for us. Nonverbal working memory is the skill of visualization and prioritization of the to-dos, tasks, and long-term projects. It's the ability to visualize the layout and in what order you need to get things done. It's also the skill to help us remember patterns, sequences, and mentally manipulate information and pictures. This deficiency in working memory affects our ability to multitask, follow long-term goals, and planning and organizing. Neurotypical brains have a type of bulletin board in their brain where they can put things like that to recall later. The ADHD brain doesn't develop like that, and we need to externalize our memory. More on that later. The next one is short-term memory. This is like a temporary storage area where information is basically just held for a brief period before it's either forgotten or transferred to long-term memory. If you've ever seen Inside Out, it's a great visualization of short and long-term memory and emotions as well. I really would recommend that movie to any adult or kid to understand. It really is an amazing movie to help you understand the brain. Not sponsored by Inside Out, but it's a great movie to help you understand this kind of stuff and to help your child understand, or students. So long-term memory, as the name suggests, is where information is stored more permanently so you can recall it later. Things like how to remember how to ride a bike, or I remember my 7's times tables because I was taught the times tables to the tune of Happy Birthday. So those types of things. Long-term memory isn't as affected with ADHD, but it's still affected. When you add ADHD into the mix of all this stuff, that was a little bit did I just have a stroke? Okay. Things get complicated, all right? ADHD can disrupt all of these memory processes. For instance, working memory is often partially affected, making it hard to keep track of multiple pieces of information at once. This is why you might struggle with following multi-step instructions or remembering what you were just about to do. Forgetfulness, trouble recalling details, losing your train of thought, these are all common memory challenges for those of us with ADHD, and they can make daily life feel like a constant battle against your own brain. But why is this? A lot of it comes down to executive functions, which is the set of mental skills that allow us to function. They include working memory, flexible thinking, and self-control. ADHD affects all the executive functions, leading to difficulties planning, focusing, and yes, remembering things. In essence, our brains are wired to be more easily distracted, making it harder to encode and retrieve information as well. This can lead to those memory lapses that we are all too familiar with. So, what does this look like in real life? Well, it can manifest in a variety of very different and frustrating ways. Maybe you've forgotten an important appointment or left your wallet at home because you got distracted on your way out the door. Or perhaps you found yourself in the middle of a task only to completely lose track of what you were doing and get distracted doing something else. I remember one time when I was running late for work, I rushed out of my house, got halfway down the street, and realized I had no idea where my phone was. After frantically searching, I did find it in the freezer. You know, how they got there is still a mystery. I'm guessing I was putting ice in my cup. Who knows? These moments can be very frustrating, and often they come with a heavy emotional toll, not to mention an overstimulation and a spike in adrenaline because you are going through something that's chaotic. And it's not just about the inconvenience, it's the anxiety of not being able to rely on your own memory and the embarrassment of forgetting something important and the constant feeling that you're not measuring up. These memory challenges can also strain relationships. Forgetting a friend or loved one's birthday or missing a meeting can make others feel unimportant, undervalued, or even that you don't care about the work that you say that you care about, even though that's never our intention at all. At work, it can be difficult to keep up with tasks and leading to stress and burnout, and this can really hit our self-esteem. The emotional impact of these memory struggles is real, and it's something that's really important to acknowledge and address. Processing your feelings is important. make sure you are putting aside time every day to feel, process, and understand your emotions. So now let's talk about the fun part. What can we do to manage and improve our memory skills? The good news is that there are plenty of strategies and tools out there to help us navigate these challenges. One of the most effective approaches to use is memory aids. Now, I like to think of this as externalizing my brain. It's a term that is used in one of the books that Dr. Russell Barkley co-wrote or wrote. I don't know. It's in there somewhere, and he, there's his credit. He's the king of all. But externalizing my brain has helped me in so many ways. These can be anything from a planner to calendar apps that send you reminders throughout the day. Personally, I rely heavily on my phone's reminder app. It's like having a person who can nudge me to do things, even if I am forgetting. Did I forget to take those meds at the middle of the day? Oh, okay. There it is. I don't use Post-it notes in a traditional way. I can use them as bookmarks and things like that, but I don't just use it as a reminder that I tape to my desk. Otherwise, it just becomes part of the environment. If I really need a Post-it to remind me of something, it needs to go somewhere that I'm going to look, in the middle of the TV, computer screen, mirror, or whatever. Another really powerful tool is routine. I have an episode that came out recently about routines, and establishing consistent daily routines can reduce the number of things that you need to actively remember. For example, if you always put your keys in the same place when you get home, you're less likely to lose them. Now, the episode is about how to build these routines and about the fact that you don't have to even call it a routine if you reject that word. Because I understand. Believe me, I get it. But believe me when I tell you that it helps to have them, especially on bad brain days. Now, when it comes to improving recall, techniques like chunking information, which means breaking information down into smaller, more manageable pieces, can be really helpful. Using mnemonic devices is another way to make information more memorable. And let's not forget the importance of using mindfulness. So, chunking information is something that I do when I'm researching for podcasts. I will research for the first part of the segment, and then the next part, and then the next part, and then I will write it out. That is helpful for me to understand what I'm reading and what I'm writing about. Using mnemonic devices is something like using the term RAIN to go through emotions. Recognize, allow, investigate, non-judgmental, and then, turning it around and noticing it. So, using mindfulness is something that really has helped me with my focus and not getting distracted. And when you hear mindfulness, I know you're thinking that you have to sit still and do some type of yoga or blah, blah, blah. No. I do mindfulness when I'm taking a walk. You can do active mindfulness. Now, there is benefit to sitting still and doing mindfulness, but I also do things like I will play with a fidget or write things out or doodle when I'm being mindful. It's just about being present and taking a moment to focus on what you're doing, and it can make a huge difference in whether or not you remember it later. You can also use the tool of adapting your environment. I also have a podcast on this that I did recently, and make it more memory friendly. This might mean organizing your space so that everything has a designated place, reducing distractions, helping you stay focused, and making sure you can get to all your tools, or using visual cues like timers that ding, using sticky notes or labels to jog your memory, and things like that. Don't be afraid to externalize that memory. Write things down, set alarms, or even ask someone to remind you of something later on. Those are all valid ways to manage your memory challenges. The next thing to manage is part of managing your ADHD and your memory challenges is embracing your ADHD. While it's important to improve our memory, it's just important to improve and shift our perspective on and embracing our unique ADHD minds. Memory challenges are a part of the ADHD experience. They're not going to go away, and they are not a reflection of who we are as people. You can be forgetful and still be successful. And it's easy to get frustrated with ourselves, but practicing self-compassion and giving yourself grace is key. We're all doing our best with the brains that we have, and that's something to be damn proud of. It's also important to recognize that our ADHD minds come with their own strengths. People with ADHD often excel in areas like creative thinking, problem solving, and adaptability. These strengths can complement our memory challenges in surprising ways, like creating really creative approaches to remembering things, allowing us to approach problems from angles that others may not see. So, instead of constantly fighting against our ADHD, we can look to work with it. This might mean finding creative solutions to memory problems or embracing a more flexible approach to your tasks. By understanding and accepting our ADHD, we can really find ways to live more authentically and thrive with our ADHD instead of just surviving. So, as we wrap up today's episode, let's recap what we've covered. We've explored why memory is such a challenge for those of us with ADHD, looked at the real-life impact that these memory struggles have on us, and we've discussed a long range of strategies to help manage and improve our memory skills. And most importantly, we've talked about the importance of embracing our ADHD minds with compassion and understanding and empathy. Remember, you're not alone in this journey. Community is one of the parts of healing, and there are tools and strategies out there to help. If today's episode resonated with you, I encourage you to try out some of the tips and see what works best for you. Use the free tools on my Patreon or sign up for the different tiers to get access to the different things. Thank you so much for tuning in this week to Authentically ADHD. If you found this episode helpful, please share it to others who might benefit. And don't forget to subscribe and rate the episodes 5 stars so that you never miss an episode and so that it gets out to more ADHDers. I love to hear your thoughts and your opinions on what we should talk about next. So feel free to reach out with your own experiences or tips by following me, or you can leave a comment on this episode or answer the poll at the bottom of this episode if you're listening on Spotify. If you're listening on Apple, you could take a quick second to leave a review. If you don't have the capacity to do that right now, hitting those 5 stars really would mean a lot to me. Until next time, take care of yourself, embrace your unique mind, and keep navigating this journey with me. Stay authentic, and we will talk soon. Speaking of extra supports, I just wanted to tell you all that I've updated my Patreon page to include all of the resources that I've really ever made to be held in one place. Just head to my show notes. The VIP members do get a little extra, but you can also purchase like my brand new Ultimate ADHD Journal and Planner, which I've been using for the past year that has worked. Nothing is priced over $10, and everything is at least 50 to 100 pages that you can download and print. You can get it to bind it and send it to you, or you can just read it off your screen and use notebook paper. So if you want or need any type of that kind of extra support, just head to my show notes and click the Patreon link to join. I hope to see you in there.